Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. Happy Friday. Happy Mother's Day weekend to all the wonderful moms out there. Everybody listening here to Fanatic Perspective. Just get ready to talk some ball with you guys and celebrate Mother's Day weekend, the whole bit. But before you guys do that, and as the everybody comes and filters into tonight's Friday night live show, first off, hit the like button. Easiest way to show love. It's free to show love. Hit that like button. It helps us. It helps the algorithm on YouTube find our channel and just help us grow. The other thing is this: I've been trying to get a lot more active. We've established the schedule now. For those who don't know, we are going to be doing live shows early in the week, mostly on Tuesdays, unless I have to travel for work. If I have to travel for work, it will be Monday, but it's either Monday or Tuesdays for a guest. The last 2 weeks, 2 weeks ago, we had Unfiltered Longhorn Talk from Facebook, Chris and Vashon on. And then this past Tuesday, we had Texas Football Talk on, right? Jeremy and Clint. So each Tuesday, we will have a guest, me rapping with y'all, just talking ball, the whole bit, right? Just us chit chatting. And eventually, I believe this will evolve into a call in show. That's the goal for Fridays, to evolve into a call in show. And then Sundays, which we are calling Sunday service, just checking in at the beginning of the week, right? And having our weekend show. So Sundays, we'll also do a live. So 3 lives each week. And what I'm asking from y'all is to subscribe, help me grow this platform. Like I said, one thing about that is a lot of you guys, I think, 29 to 31% of you watch me on a regular basis and are not subscribed. I have the data. I have the analytics behind the scenes. So if you guys just do me a favor, help us out. I'm going to set a goal here. By Ohio State, which is August 30th, we are going to try to get to 15,000 subscribers on this channel. I feel with consistent momentum, you guys' help, we can get there. So 15K by Ohio State is the goal now for the channel, so we can continue to move forward. Um, by the way, TikTok, we're almost at 1,000 followers on TikTok. We're almost at 2,000 followers on Instagram. So we're growing on all social media platforms. We're trying to take Fanatic Perspective to the next level, y'all. Now let's get to business. I have some stats and stuff pulled up because I want to, discuss, uh, you know, just this running back room. A lot of lists. This is list season, it feels like, right? Where people are chiming in with their opinions, chiming in with, this is the top quarterback in the country. This is the top running back in the country. This is all these different things. And I'm not as much concerned about lists as just it is about the proper players on our team getting their just due, especially guys that have put the time in, the work in, and the production in. A lot of conversation about Texas is about what we've lost, and people keep forgetting about what we got coming back. People keep forgetting about some of the big time catalysts that are still a part of this football program playing for Steve Sarkisian that have heavyweight SEC heavyweight playoff experience, right? And so today we're focusing on the Texas running game, which is not just the running back room, but our offensive line, especially our interior offensive line, the questions that we have there, our tight ends. So I want to have a, collaborative conversation with you guys about our running game, because before I even get into lineups and individuals and even Trevor Weisner. By the way, it's Trevor Weisner's birthday today, so happy birthday, Trey. I want to share the first graphic I got here because just to kind of set the tone in terms of where we can improve. In my opinion, our running game last year was not only inconsistent, we had our highs, we had our lows, right? But it needs to be, to me, it has to be an area of improvement under Steve Sarkisian. So as I bring up these stats here, and let me make sure I'm not blocking out my face. Um, you know, as you guys can see there, just focusing on the run game, we were what 64th, 64th in yards per rush, right? So four and a half yards per carry, and 64th. I mean, that's basically middle of the road, right? You're not bad, but you're not great. You're not in the top 30. But and we know that number gets weighted down by essentially both Georgia games and the Ohio State game where we really, really struggled to run the ball with any effectiveness at all, right? Now rushes per game, we're 64th, so we weren't running the ball as much as maybe some of the other teams in the country, maybe some that were more run dominant. I'm curious to see what that number looks like under Arch for a couple reasons. Number one, for his development, play action, getting him in rhythm, things of that sort, but also him as a runner, right? I think you have to make it to where a little bit bigger. Okay, I'm gonna probably have to block out myself. Let me see here. Actually, you know what? Let me remove the chat from the screen for a second because I want to make sure y'all are. So let me see if I can do it on this side. I'll do it on this side, and then I'll just move over this way so y'all can see. Okay, because I want hopefully that's a little bit better for you guys on the stats. Can y'all see that? Okay. Um. So yeah, when we look at the rushing yards, and here's the thing, right? From a passing game perspective, yeah, we're better. Our numbers were better, but it's not like we were elite per se, except for I would say passing yards per game at 13th, right? So overall, we got a lot of improvement to go offensively for where we were last year. As you can see, the defense was out of this world, right? The entire overall defense and all these metrics is top 10 except for fourth down conversion. They're 40th. Other than that, they're 2, 4, 3, 2, 7, 3. Right? Red zone scoring, which factors into our run game, right? Big reason why we didn't win the national championship. If you guys were on when Texas Football Talk was on, right? Clint talked about details, right? Clint Lockaby said, hey, details are going to be the difference, Steve, for us to break through to win the national championship. Well, look at the red zone scoring number coinciding with our rushing number, right? These are average to below average to bad. I would say the red zone scoring 77%, right? That's also on special teams and Burt not converting, but that's bad. That's bad. Fortunately, your defense bailed you out and held people to 63% and was third in the country, right? So we must improve in this area. I have high optimism for the Texas defense going into 2025. I think they'll be very good. I don't think it's realistic to ask them to be arguably the best defense in the history of the program year over year. Now, I do want them to be as good as they can be down the stretch in order for us to win. I mean, it's going to take a whole team effort, but realistically, are you going to hold people to 15 points per game next year? Realistic? Are you going to hold people to 5.7 yards per pass where we're number one in the country with like we got to factor this in. We have to be better offensively. The points per game is 33, okay, but that red zone scoring number, the rushing yards per game, the yards per rush 4.4, we've got to get that closer to 5 if not 5 and up, right? We've got to get that red zone scoring number closer to 90. So, what are the factors, right? Chad is talking here. So he says, I think Arch alone makes us better offensively. I think Arch can help in the run game for sure. But it's not just Arch, right? So somebody brought up Cole Hudson at center, right? Guys, we this is where we really need to have a perspective of what is this going to look like with the new faces. DJ Campbell's the only incumbent, right? So Cole Hudson being in there at center, Cole Hudson's not a new face. Cole Hudson has actually started an entire football season going back to 2022 and or 2023. Oh no, it was 2022. My bad. 2022, his freshman year. And you look at Cole Hudson going into center, we think we can improve with some of the physicality, right? Some of the just some of the things that Jake Majors probably struggled against size wise. I mean, there is a reason why he wasn't drafted. But Cole Hudson has a lot of experience overall, and he can play multiple positions up front. So, and we have multiple guys that can play center, right? So if it does become a problem or there's a challenge at another guard position, he can still help us there. We have the ability to move guys around based upon how they've been cross trained. We got to factor that in as well. Now, from what I've heard, the concerns, right? I don't think anybody's concerned about Trevor Gby. I think there's just excitement, right? Which is crazy because he's taking over for Kelvin Banks, who, top 10 pick, 5-star player, guy that was all world for us the last 3 years at Texas. But the thing is, we got more than a movie trailer with Trevor Gby last year. We saw him have superstar potential, quite frankly, with his size, his basketball type athleticism. Shout out to his brother Austin Gby. Like, the possibilities, he'll have his growing pains naturally as a football player, and he is a different style of tackle from Kelvin Banks. There are going to be some things that I believe the staff will need to adjust to with Trevor Gby. I don't know if you can run as much outside zone with him. I think he's more downhill, get hands on man, but he is a mauler, and he can get his hands on guys in the pass game. And I think that's going to be, important. But if you're asking him to go out and find people on screens and stuff like that, I do think he will struggle a little bit more. So we got to adjust to his strengths versus that was a big strength of Kelvin Banks, right? It's a reason why Kelvin Banks was so highly regarded, his ability to go find guys in space and block smaller guys and get his hands on them. That's really, really difficult to do as an offensive lineman. So when you look at, Arizona State, that was another game we struggled to run the ball. That is true. So left guard and right tackle are the big question marks if you're looking at this offensive line. Left guard, we've got Neto versus Nate Kibble. Right tackle, looking at Brandon Baker versus Kojo. And what do those players offer, especially since we've seen Neto play in spurts, but we haven't seen him play full time. Nate Kibble was injured last year. We've seen, and then with Kojo and Brandon Baker, they're really newer guys, but guys that have been developing within the program. In the case of Brandon Baker, very, very highly rated recruit, right? So what is, just because those are the best guys at each position, is that the best five that fit together? Is that the best five that fit together to what you want to do with how Quintravian Weisner will run the ball? We'll get to the running back room in a little bit, but we got to factor those things in, right? So let me see here. Let me talk to the chat. John's just an Aggie troll, y'all. Don't pay him no mind. He's not really here to talk ball like that. Do we see a rotation at guard like last year? I think you will see a rotation. at least early in the season between Neto and Nate Kibble until they figure out what they want to do there. I mean, to me, when I hear what they're nervous about, that seems to be the spot. That seems to be the consensus for multiple people I've heard from. Um, and if they could do it over again, maybe they probably hit the portal to get one more guy. I don't know. But that's the spot there where they have questions. And I know a lot of fans have been excited to see Neto play over the last few years, especially him and what he looks like when you've seen him play, contrast to Hayden Connor, who he will be replacing. But the thing about Hayden Connor is Hayden Connor was really, really good at holding up in pass game and a very good at communication with Jake Majors. Those are the two things he was just really effective with. Um, and Hayden Connor was also really effective at sealing and swinging out on pass pro. So whoever is going to be effective there, they may lean that direction even more so than the person that's the most effective run blocker. Ideally, you want somebody that's a beast at both, right? But we'll see how that shakes out. But to JB's point, I think there is probably going to be a rotation there until that gets settled. Let's see here, Marlon. I agree. These numbers aren't just on the players, and it's crazy. We're talking about Sark's play calling, considering the success that he's had. But each year you should be looking to improve and looking inward. And your team was 111th in red zone scoring. Play calling's factoring in there as well. Yes, your season ended essentially at the goal line. Play calling has to be looked at as well, right? So when they ran the dreaded, I know there's some people that defended the toss sweep play when they lost all them damn yards against Ohio State. I I Me personally, I would have tried to bang on them a few times. I understand how good Ohio State's defense was against the run and how well they've held up. But going laterally against Caleb Downs and them boys and Ransom and all the people they had on the field, uh, I didn't see the vision, brother. I'm sorry. And that play went exactly how I would have expected it to go if you're calling that type of play against um, that personnel, quite frankly. So we and the thing is this: we're not just going to be able to ram Arch either, right? I mean, we can't afford that. Our short yardage needs to be, ideally like Michigan, that where they're able to hand the ball off and get what they need with their backs. I don't think you can just now at times, yeah, quarterback should be a part of it. And we can't be scared to run Arch, but we can't. He's a starter now. He's not a guy coming. He's not a luxury piece coming off the bench that you can use like Tebow. That's my point. We're gonna have, even if it's easy money. Now in big games, you're gonna run your quarterback. It just is what it is. But I'm talking about just on a regular basis, like throughout conference play in general. I don't want to have to get to the goal line and the only way I can get in is quarterback power. Like that that is just then it's just like, man, how redundant of a thing has this been at Texas with this particular issue? So yes, play calling is something that is critical to improve, in my opinion. Hot take: Sark's legacy. Marlon, this is too far, brother. I got to stop you right here, brother. Legacy as in what? Because this is like Ohio State fans talking shit about Ryan Day right before he actually won a national championship. Like, legacy of what? At this point, I mean, we're coming off of a 13-3 season, brother. Back to back semis, back to back top five finishes. Like we're yes, not everything. We are talking about very specific things he needs to fix, but legacy, I think that's extreme. I can't get down with that. Sark is good between the 20s. Also, what one thing we did see when Arch was in there, limited sample size, but something that has not really been a part of Sark's offense. Let's be honest right now. We have not seen the explosive plays at volume. We've had explosive plays, okay? But you think about like Quinn's first year, we remember how long it took us to have a pass over 50 yards. And then over the years, like, we've had the deep ball conversation and these and this, and going against three high. Well, as bad as 2021 was, and we were 5-7 that year, we didn't lack for big plays. We had big plays all over the place, pass and run. I I would like to see more, us take the top off the deep, and not even just take the top off the deep, but just more explosive plays in general, right? Sark constantly says, and he said this for years, it's a lot harder to score on 12, 13, 14 play drives consistently. Gives you an opportunity to screw something up, right? Even think back to the first drive against Michigan when Burt missed the field goal and we had the touchdown wiped off the board. I think it was DeAndre Moore that caught the first one, if I'm not mistaken, before Gunnar Helm got the touchdown. Like that was a great drive, but it was a lengthy drive. And then a mistake happened, and then a holding happens, or a pass interference, or something crazy that just wipes away. So we definitely want to see more explosives. I felt like we haven't seen all of the explosives since 2021. That's crazy. Offensive genius legacy. Okay, I think that's a little bit more fair. You just said legacy, brother. When you say stuff like that, we got to qualify it. Um, we did see the explosives. Took Mac Brown 6 to 7 years to win his first natty at Texas. Sark is ahead of pace. Yep. I mean, this is the healthiest this program has been, outside of just having a national championship. When you think about pipeline, when you think about the teams that they've beaten, the big games they've won, um, you know, the NFL draft picks, the where they're finishing in recruiting, how they're handling the transfer portal, the program is very healthy right now. Well, see, Allen said to me, Sark is content beating a team by 10 points more than trying to run up scores on the opponents. Yes, I think yes and no. I think there's also just missed opportunities earlier in games to blow a game open. Yes, there are times where it's like, hey, we definitely play with our food, right? But there are other times where it's like those explosives are there in the first quarter, second quarter. I mean, again, going back to 2021, where we were 5-7, but we were getting these massive leads on people in the first half. Now, football's also changed. People are defending the RPO differently. People figured out how to play their safeties against Sark's schemes differently. All that. Now that we have a quarterback with a different skill set, now that we have an offensive line that, as a play caller, you'll have to figure out what works best for them. Will we see a return to those explosives? Will we see more of those big chunk plays down the field if you're not able to leverage your screen game as much? I'm not saying that screen won't be a part of the offense, but how much will that be part of the offense? But all of those things still come from the run game. The run game has to improve. That is a big emphasis this year. Our first SEC game against Florida, we got to run the ball well. First game opener against Ohio State. We cannot if we're planning on having the same ineffective, you know, anemic run game that we had in the Cotton Bowl. It's going to be very difficult to win in Columbus. Just trying to rely on throw game and the defense. It's going to be very difficult to win in Columbus. Ohio State was able to run the ball against us. So why can't we? I mean, we got to be able to have our run game in the biggest of games and establish that. So definitely want to see that. Marlon, sometimes you say, sometimes you are spot on, and other times you say the most outlandish thing whatever. Oh man. Let's see. Arch straight up solves the deep pass problem. That's what I meant earlier about him improving the offense by himself. Gotcha. Gotcha. Marlon. Marlon came ready on this Friday afternoon. I'm gonna put up Weisner's numbers here because so let me do this. Let's add. Yeah, let's get Weisner's numbers over here. So this is Weisner's game log from last season. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I believe he will be RB1 for not just to start the season, but I think he will be RB1 for majority of the season, if not the entire season. Please keep in mind, again, he is the only returning 1,000-yard rusher in the SEC. So put some respect on his name, number one. Number two, we really, as much as he as successful as he was, things to notice here. He only had 2 games where he had over 20 carries, which was back-to-back weeks. The senior night against Kentucky, which was our last home game before Clemson, and then obviously him having the legendary performance against Texas A&M. So a lot of this is also, hey, timeshare with Jaden Blue, splitting carries with Jared Gibson, eating into that. And then, as you guys can see earlier in the season, in our season opener, he has 5 carries, Michigan game, 8 carries, UTSA 6 carries. He didn't get really popping until that Arches start against Mississippi State, which was conference opener. Right? So, I think now too, with the physical improvements he's made on his body, this is the thing I keep trying to tell people. He was just a true sophomore last year that we asked to pinch hit after Baxter goes down, Blue has his injury stuff, Gibson starts fumbling, Clark is down with an Achilles. I mean, and he came through against some of the, and look, big rivalry games, right? OU game, 13 carries, 118. Obviously had that big long touchdown run, 2 touchdowns, or 1 touchdown. The A&M game, obviously, he carried us. The Clemson game, he had a big game in the first playoff game. Now, I know the concern with Weisner is, people still go back to his recruiting. I don't know why we haven't moved off of that, but people still go back to, well, he wasn't a big recruit. He wasn't RB1 at DeSoto, blah, 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 blah. I also think that people look at him and he's not the biggest guy. He's not the fastest guy. He's not the strongest guy. He's not the sexiest runner. but he does literally everything that the coaches ask, and he protects the football. Only two fumbles and didn't lose a fumble last year, right? The other thing is the effectiveness that he gives us in the passing game. And this is very key. He caught 44 passes last year. Look how active across this sheet he is in the receiving game, right? Even that Ohio State game where they're shutting down our run, he still had 6 catches for 42 yards, right? Arizona State, 4 catches, 40 yards. Now, where people are, I think, looking for that RB1, we got to look at what we realistically even have on the roster right now, because I'm just going to get straight to the point. CJ Baxter, who I will pull up his thing here. I don't know if he'll be to form, and we said this on the show on Tuesday. I don't think he's going to be ready until late in the late in the season if he's able to stay healthy. I just don't see it. And I think if they try to put too much on him early in the season, that could be an issue, in my opinion. Jonathan Brooks, they just announced that Jonathan Brooks and the Carolina Panthers and it breaks my heart, but he's now on the physically unable to perform list, which means he's not even eligible to play for 2025 season. Like, he's just completely getting the year off after tearing his ACL for the second time. And I'm not saying it's apples to apples with Baxter, but I always felt like last year they were rushing Jonathan Brooks back for what reason? Especially when the Panthers were 2-7 when he finally got to play. And to give him 9 meaningless carries before he tears it again, I just thought it was rushed. And I don't feel comfortable. I also ask you guys this. Outside of Jordan Shipley, who have you seen successfully in a Texas uniform offensively that is a skill position come back from a torn ACL? Who have you seen? Anybody that's torn, and I'm not saying it's just an absolute, like, Derek Williams also come back from one, but like, who have you seen that successfully come back? Period. Right? I'm just saying, let's have patience. Whatever we get from him early, let's have patience. I have no like he didn't practice at all this spring, and so we're jumping ahead to, oh, he's RB1 because of a recruiting profile, because of what we saw. You got to have patience with this stuff. These are people's futures you could be messing around with, and I hope we have a plan of patience and a long-term plan for that. I do not see the benefit in rushing him back. Oh, he looks good early, and then boom, something happens again. Yeah, he didn't practice at all this spring. Here's the other thing too. Christian Clark, I do think it's a little bit different. Christian Clark had an Achilles injury, not an ACL injury. And totally, different part of the body, right? Like, so that healing mechanism for him, maybe that was just easier to come back from than but we know how we have struggled. I mean, look at Nair. When Nair came back, and he was a receiver. It took Nair 2 years before he really felt good, before he looked like himself again. That at Nebraska, but when he came back and he was messing around with the knee brace, was it off? I just don't know how much you can even, for let's say the beginning of the year and especially SEC play, how much you even should be like. To me, anything I get from Baxter, if he's ahead of schedule, great. That is that is icing on the cake. But I'm not going to sit here and rely on that when I have not seen any evidence of anybody recently in a Texas uniform come back and just be that man again after that injury. And then also seeing the struggles that Jonathan Brooks is having right now in the NFL. I rather err the side of patience, and we can talk about how we're going to build this run game with Quintravian Weisner, with Jared Gibson also developing. I'm hoping that Jared Gibson can make the same jump that Weisner made last year from his freshman to sophomore year. If Gibson can give me that from his freshman to sophomore year, and then I get just good whatever I can get from Clark, who I think is underrated, I think we're fine in the running back room, especially in combination with Arch and his ability to move. I think we're fine. And I think people are actually underrating Weisner considering what he has done. He has played in big games. He has played an entire season. He has proven that he can run, block, and catch. We know he can do that. Now, again, is he gonna be Jarquez Hunter? Is he gonna be Travion Henderson in the open field? Is he gonna be one of these top tier upper echelon backs out in space? You know, we've only seen that happen at times. Sark needs to call Adrian Peterson and ask, hey, look, AD was one of one. One of one. Genetically, too. You know what's funny, John, is I really appreciate the commentary here that that you're just screaming out into the vacuum in the chat, because it actually helps the algorithm with your engagement. So I appreciate you coming on and helping out a Texas channel. It means a lot to me. So keep screaming into the void, keep screaming into the vacuum, brother, and keep helping out a Texas channel. I love the engagement here. You know, typically I would go to one of my other Texas channel so I can help the engagement there. So if you don't want to go to a OU or A&M channel, I don't even know A&M YouTubers, but if and help their numbers and help their engagement, we all trying to grow in 2025. So you helping me grow, brother. John Wooler is a fanatic perspective, a Texas fan. Thank you for the engagement, brother. Keep screaming into the void. I'm glad you're doing it on my channel. RB1 is probably one of those freshmen. I don't like running backs that can't make guys miss. Hey, I hear you. I hear you, brother. But Lord knows we have guys that can't walk and chew gum sometimes. And what I mean by that is you got to be able to hold on to the rock. We got to trust you first. Now, if you're in there and you have all the basics down and you got that shake, you can give people them cookies, then now we talking about a whole different conversation, especially with this group. Because I do think there's a world where we see a legitimate uptick in the production of our run game with Arch and this offensive line, even with the same names here. I do see that world. Let's go. Let me bring up Baxter's numbers. I got Baxter's numbers here too, so we can look at that together. Because I see some scuttlebutt in the chat. I think there's some disagreement about. Marlon said that he doesn't think Baxter makes guys miss. And it looks like there is some disagreement there. So let me remove this and make this big. All right. So this is Baxter's numbers from 2023. Now, obviously, then he was splitting time initially with Jonathan Brooks, and then at the end it was him and Jaden Blue, right, to finish the season, throw Keelan Robinson into the mix. So different set of circumstances, but Some of these numbers also we got to factor in. Baxter was, and this is another reason why I'm not counting on him. How many games did he finish? And this is not shade at the player, but we forgetting that he was consistently leaving games and getting banged up and nicked up, and just with the workload that he did have as a true freshman. So should we not factor that in even with his return after not playing football since 2023? That's a concern for me, guys. That's a concern for me. I like he's gonna have to prove that his body is ready to take on the reliability and whatnot, right? So when just looking at the raw numbers here, some of these carries aren't low because Jonathan Brooks was sucking up all the carries. If y'all remember, I believe it was the Rice game, the Rice and the Bama games. Jonathan Brooks, please correct me if I'm wrong, but Jonathan Brooks didn't win the starting job per se. Cedric Baxter was the one starting. He was the one starting those games. Now, eventually, once JB was full time back, he was full time back. But that Rice game, he had that big run, that 32-yarder, and then he was gone. And then the Bama game, I remember he played early in the Bama game, and then he was, then it was more Brooks that closed. So, you know, now where I will give, this is where I will say I like the potential of Baxter long term and what he can be. And he reminds me a lot of Cedric Benson. That Iowa State game, that 20, so the one game he got 20 carries, and that was the game coming off of TCU where our hearts were broken and Jonathan Brooks tore his ACL. That Jonathan Brooks tore his ACL in that TCU game. But the Iowa State game, when we went up that cold weather, he did carry that rock. And it was a tight game, wasn't sexy, weren't throwing the ball particularly well. Tough game. So he did show me some toughness there. And then, obviously in the the playoff game, I thought he actually looked his most explosive as a runner in the Washington game. I mean, that was one time he fumbled, but I actually really liked the way he looked in that Washington game. So, man, y'all getting active in the chat right now. Alan says Sark was showing loyalty, favoritism to Baxter. Brooks went took that job for sure. Coach Choice was playing Jedi mind games because there was nothing that Baxter showed that season that said RB1 over Brooks. I agree. I agree. Thanks for the super chat. D Money can't get money. The brain rotted Aggies haven't won a natty since the conception of the yield sign. Damn. So, Marlon, let me ask you this. Because Jared Gibson breaks tackles. Problem is Jared Gibson is, do you trust him? So how do you guys feel about Jared Gibson year two? Especially not being able to see anything in the spring, right? With your own eyes. We know what the coaches have said and we know what's been reported. But how do we feel about Jared Gibson? D Money can't get money. Thank you again for your super chat. Donations. 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 Thank you, brother. I think Gibson was doghoused too harshly. That's going to be interesting to see how Coach Choice handled things versus Coach Scott. Will be interesting because Coach Choice, I mean, like y'all said, I mean, the mind, like it wasn't just mind games. Like I think he understood what it was going to take to motivate his guys and putting them a certain way. Obviously, the Jonathan Brooks thing was a tactic. Now, it ended up working until he got hurt, but like he knew, right? And I'm not going to question somebody that got every single person in his room drafted, and when he had 5 people in that room and everybody got drafted, but and what he did with Weisner last year. Because the one thing that Coach Choice did do was say, hey, when he had to sit Gibson down, remember he sat, what game was that Blue didn't get a carry? It was the Georgia game. It was the Georgia game. They didn't give Jaden Blue a carry. Remember, all his touches were through the air, including the Texas route where he scored a touchdown. They didn't even let him carry the ball in the first Georgia game. So will Coach Scott have that same, Coach Boone mentality? You fumble the ball, you run a mile? Or will he be more, you know, will it be more of what happened? Were you doing too much? Or were you reckless with the football to begin with? Because we can't tolerate reckless, right? Where some of the fumbles like that Jaden Blue had were just like lapses in concentration. Jared Gibson, I think he has some young boy fumbles, right? Where you just don't tuck the ball away when you're in traffic, all that type of things, or you're trying to do too much. You're trying to get 3 yards when you already got the first down. What are we? I think he had some young boy fumbles, but he got punished. And they were trying to teach him, dude, we're trying to win a natty right now. If we can't trust you, you can't be in the game. Period. Now, what I'd also like to see from Jared Gibson, which will earn him more playing time, is 2 things other than the fumbles. Can he catch and can he block? If he can do those 2 things, he will play a lot this year. Because he does give you that hammer that you don't get with Weisner. Period. Jared Gibson is a hammer. And he's so good. He has a good nose around the goal line, and he can run through people. But you got to be able to trust him. Why was Bolden in the doghouse? Do you guys think Bolden was in the doghouse, or do you think he was just a little bit behind because of he didn't get here early enough? I don't know. There's absolutely no reason for Gibson to have been benched the entirety of the Ohio State game. Well, they brought him in on that one carry on the first. I think it was 1st and 1, first down goal from the 1, and he ran for no gain, and then they didn't give it to him again. Marlon said, I haven't seen anything from him, to be honest. And then and the Kendrick voice, it's not enough. It's not enough. I like Weisner because he runs hard, but I don't like our running back room besides that. Well, hopefully this year they can win you over, brother. It's not enough. Yeah, but if he was in the doghouse for punt returns, they would have taken him off punt return. They never took him off punt return. He was absolutely no. He was playing with our souls back there. But I did like him because he was fearless. The one thing he was not was scared. That brother was too courageous. That brother's starving. JB, JB did me in, yo. That brother's starving. He was trying to, he was trying I ain't get my touches. I'm gonna try to take this one to the house, baby. How do we feel about Simon, the freshman back? I see some people talking. I don't know how many opportunities he'll get personally. That's why I haven't brought him up too much. Y'all are funny in this chat. This is hilarious. Who's baseball getting spanked by? Florida? Who are they playing? Look, I think they're playing Florida. I could be tripping. You want Weisner to look like Clyde Edwards-Helaire? Dude, if we get a Clyde Edwards-Helaire from the way he looked at LSU, watch out. I'm just saying, can we be better than 64th in the country in rushing? Is that too much to ask? Right, chat? The lack of spring game really hampers these conversations. This is interesting, right? Because let's think back a little bit, right? Because sometimes the spring game can misguide us. It goes both ways, right? Like, because the spring game is a showcase, and sometimes they're like, hey, we'll let these now sometimes it is like, okay, we clearly we're going to be spamming this particular player or these particular guys this year. It's obvious. Or just seeing somebody execute the offense makes you feel better going into the season. Totally understand that. Totally understand that. Even if it's scripted. Totally get it. That got everybody excited about Wingo last year, right? Like, wow, he's going to be an early contributor because you saw him making plays against good competition in the spring game. But I do think it sometimes can be a little misleading because last year's spring game, or even the one before that, you would have thought, man, we're going to have this massive rotation of receiver, for example, right? And we knew eventually they were going to get down to who they like. And also you're always going to be a little bit more open because somebody said earlier here, it's for the fans. Yeah, Victor said it. Spring games for the fans. So we ain't just going out there just running 12 personnel and running the ball in a spring game. But JP said the spring game had us thinking Nair, brother, what could have been? What could have been? That's another what if. What if Nair never tears his knee? Still the best ball. One of the best balls we ever saw Quinn throw was the first time we saw him. That deep post. We'll talk about that play forever today in the spring game. So not seeing stuff like that is interesting, right? Because we're really kind of going on what variation of this offense or this team would be in the new era, and really what are the rotations going to look like in terms of how many guys off the bench are we using, and do we trust what Sarks saying? I do trust what Sarks saying defensively when he's saying they're going to play a lot of guys in the secondary, because I don't think that the secondary is established. I think they have a shit ton of talent back there. I just don't know if they know exactly who the five are going to be like they knew last year. Like they knew, like coming even in game one, it was like, okay, this is obvious that Makuba and Taff are your safeties. It's obvious that Jade and Manny are your corners. And then Gilbo was your star all year, right? Like Derek Williams played, McDonald played. They were rotating in, but it was obvious who your core five were. But now, and remember, I'm big on I got to see my trusting your eye. Brothers and sisters, we ain't gonna know until we see them put the pads on against Ohio State. We won't know anything. Now, Ohio State has nothing to go on either, right? We can watch their spring game and have an idea. We can see Julian Sane. We can see Brandon Ennis, right? We can look and see, some of the guys that they got coming in and see how they look, see some of the new starters on the offensive line and, make some judgments. But the only, Ohio State's going to be looking at what film of us, unless they somehow commandeer some practice film via Bill Belichick back in the day. Yeah, Nair, what could have been that first season, definitely would have been a great compliment to Worthy, 100%. Josh Moore. Joshua Moore. Excuse me. Joshua Moore. Man, there's so many spring game demons out there, man, over the years. I remember and he ended up starting that year, but I remember Shane Buchel's spring game. Man, that boy looked like a young Montana out there. When we first installed Bear and Shoot, man, I was like, man, he gonna throw for 4,000 yards. Spring game superheroes. Malik Murphy looked crazy good in the spring games. I hope Malik balls out at Oregon State. Sad that he ended up there, but I hope he balls out over there. But we've had some. John Childs, Sherrod Harris, springtime demons. The Kool-Aid was flowing during those times, man. Spring game and then his first start. I think that was Labor Day. I think we played on a Monday, right? Play on Labor Day. He was a true freshman. A lot of hype. I remember what's his face had just moved to receiver. Gerard Hurd. But, yeah, this is the time of the chat where people y'all just get if Malik he said Malik gets drafted higher than Quinn. Y'all gonna have to start calling me sir before you talk to me. Oh boy. Oh my goodness. Happy Friday, y'all. Please subscribe, hit the like button. Uh the whole bit. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, Marlon. Shit. Deshaun Hales. Yep. another spring warrior, another spring demon. What was it? Was it him? It was him. Didn't DJ Monroe get active in the spring too? Was it DJ Monroe? It was one of those dudes that used to go crazy in spring game. So sometimes We just don't even need the fake Kool-Aid. Yeah, when things get real slow, this is a good content idea right here. When things get real slow during the off season, and I'm just dying for things to talk about, we will definitely draft. We'll have a draft together, all spring game team. Shane Buechele's got to be the quarterback of that team, right? I don't think any other Texas quarterbacks had a better spring game showing than freshman year Shane Buechele. But some of y'all been around longer, or been around the block longer than me, so I don't know. Jaden Blue was getting active in spring game too. Nair will be on the all spring game team for sure. Nair was so good in the spring that when we had that live with Nash and he called him, he called him Julio Jones. Nash was so upset that brother Nash was so upset that Nair didn't get drafted, and I'm right there with him. He called him Julio. We said, me and Kara were like, Iglesias? No, he saw it all the way through. Who did Nair sign with? I'm sure he signed with somebody. I was actually kind of surprised he didn't get drafted because I thought he had a good combine. Thought he had a good combine. Arch had a good spring game last year. Yeah. It's just so funny that some people just can't admit that Arch is probably going to be him. It's just funny to see how much that triggers people. I can't wait for Arch to like hit them, like especially after the Ohio State game. Like right now, think about like Twitter right now is so toxic with, and I like Shador Sanders, but it's gotten Twitter today, that Browns rookie mini camp where they're literally doing install and they're showing every single freaking pass, and people are on Twitter just wildly hot takes between him and Dylan Gabriel. That's what it's gonna be like when Arch plays, yo. People are just gonna be spamming anything Arch does for content. Period. Like these people are. Shador Sanders is feeding families right now from a content creation perspective, and it's gonna be like that when Arch takes over. It's gonna be insane. This is why people, and it's and think about it. If you are somebody that traditionally hates Texas, that's why you're seeing the nonsensical list that are out here and people doing some of the things that they're doing. Right? You know, they have all these questions about Arch and all this type of stuff. And he's actually started an SEC game, unlike John Mateer. But they feel comfortable gassing up another guy that they know will go against Arch, like a John Mateer, because they're hoping and praying that that guy can somehow defeat them so they can get the narrative on their side. It's interesting. But all the questions that they ask, they will ask us 21 questions about about Arch and his inexperience and what he hasn't done. But I'm not allowed to ask like who John Mateer has even played up against. As far as I'm concerned, he's only started one game against a ranked team, which was Boise State, and they got their doors blown off. I've never seen him play against the only other Power Five team I've even seen him play against is Texas Tech. But he gets the benefit of the doubt automatic, just off rip. There's no questions. There's no doubt. He's going to be great. All right. I just, I just, I just think it's funny that I'm supposed to trust the same people that told me Jackson Arnold was better than Arch. These are the same people telling me that John Mateer is him. Okay. I'm not, I like John Mateer, but I'm supposed to trust the same people. I asked y'all to look me dead in the eye and tell me, what is Jackson Arnold going to do? And these people were talking. This time last year, you would have thought Jackson Arnold was the next. It was the 1990s, and he was the next Brett Favre, about to win 3 straight MVPs. Mm, mm, mm. Lies being told. John Willard, who's better, Archer, Marcel Reed? Who would you rather have at quarterback for the Aggies? I remember we gassed up that touchdown pass that Hudson Card had to Marcus Washington. We acted like that was Montana to Rice. We had that one. He had that one touchdown pass, and then Casey threw the pick six. Oh man, yeah, people did compare Hudson Card to Aaron Rodgers. Who is it that laid the wood to? I believe that was my man Game Speed, Mo Blackwell, in the 2023 game. Who's the Aggies quarterback? It's Marcel Reed. Marcel and Arch, by the way, Marcel and Arch were the same class. They're both 2023 quarterbacks. People talking about all this inexperience and Arch. People are acting like Arch is like a true freshman when he was the same class as Sam Levitt, who started at Michigan State before he went to Arizona State. Marcel Reed was in the 2023 class. I believe he was like QB 18 or 19. Jackson Arnold was the 2023 class. He's now at Auburn. Nico's now at UCLA. Dante Moore is now at Oregon. So we're also talking about a quarterback that's been in the system. I said that, JB. Can you pull the clip? I knew I said he had arm talent. If I said that nonsense, please pull the clip, brother. Ooh, boy. We live and we grow. I don't remember gassing him like that. But if I did, you talk long enough, you say some shit. It just is what it is. That's the name of this business. Please go back to the archives. If I gassed him like that, damn. I was pretty in between, like from what I recall. Like I just didn't understand why people were going so hard body. Now I know because of what was happening behind the scenes. But at the time, I wasn't. From what I recall, like I was just like, who's the best option for Texas? We was dying of thirst. There you go. we had, bro, we had just not had like, and God bless Sam Ellinger, right? Like, and what he did, but we just hadn't seen like any NFL talent, like pure. And then we thought we were going to get it with Quinn. You know what's funny? As I got to hit up my man Marcus at Sharp Sports. Yeah, I remember when I called him out about his take on Quinn Ewers. Was he actually right? We need to go revisit that video. Was Sharp Sports actually right about Quinn? And was I in the wrong? See, these are things we got to go back and look at. Got to hit up my boy Marcus, see how he's doing. That was a big thing between me and Sharp. Shout out to Sharp Sports. Go subscribe to his channel. Looking back at it, he might have been he might have been on to something. We live, we grow, we learn, man. I don't remember gassing Hudson Card to I said Jeffrey McCullough was gonna be better than Joseph. I never said that. Those words never came out of my mouth. Now y'all not that's cap. That's cap. I never said that. Absolutely not. And I like McCullough, but I never said he was going to be better than better than Osai. That I'm about to say that timeline don't even make sense. I agree, Dump and Wonder. I think QB school is there as well. That 2020, that's a different arm. Just the arm talent. Just the arm talent. I know the footwork has always been a mess. All the other stuff, he wasn't even athletic then, but the arm talent. That was a different arm. That wasn't the same arm throwing the football in 2024. And it's sad. Maybe it was Dallas Turner's fault. Michigan, see, the thing about the Michigan game is this. The throw he made in the end zone where he was rolling was to me more footwork, but that was a dot. But to me, the Michigan game was more about how he was handling the game. It wasn't necessarily that he was throwing these dimes all over the field. Like he had some floaters even in the Michigan game. It's just that he was locked in up here. I felt like in the Michigan game I saw a year 3 quarterback that understood how to finally navigate the pocket, that understood where to go with the football and just was on time. But I'm not looking at that Michigan tape where I'm like, "Oh my god, this is." Like, you look at the Bama tape, the 2022 Bama tape, that 20-yard out route, like there's like only 4 or 5 people in the league right now that can make that same throw that he made right now. That was the throw where it's like, okay, I understand why he got 1,000 rating, because that's just like, whoa, right? Or even the throw he made the next year against Bama, that one where he put all that air under to Worthy. Not a lot of guys can do that either. That's not easy to do. I played quarterback. You could throw it far, but when you start dictating how much air you're putting under something and the trajectory, that changes things. But I have not seen the OMG arm talent from him ever since then. He's made some good throws. I mean, it's not that he's had a terrible arm, but never had the fastball. Fastball was gone. That's the other thing. You're going to see some throws this year from Arch where you're just like, oh, wow, like that's what it looks like to just throw it lower away from traffic and just on a rope to somebody. Or as Kurt Warner says, this is a good term. And this is this is not just for guys with strong arms. He's like throwing the ball with pace. Understanding like, hey, right now, 10 to 15, I got to put pace on this football. So because we got a tight window, you got to turn it upfield or get to the sideline. Whereas Quinn looks like he was playing catch sometimes. Where you just, why are you lobbing that? Like, and I know you can put pace on that ball. I know you can, but it was those type of things. But that 2022 first half against Bama, especially as a freshman, Woo. See, but that's another thing. South Lake ball was a little different too because it was heavily RPO based, spread concepts. And remember, at that time, we were set up to run the rock with Bijan in the personnel that we had. We weren't set up to play ball that way. I do think the Dallas Turner hit changed things, though. I do think it changed things. Brew McCoy just medically retired, by the way. I think I saw that. I think he retired. I know he didn't get drafted, but I think he medically retired. All right, fellas, ladies, happy Mother's Day. I'm gonna reiterate the plans on the back end of this. So, A, hit the like button. It's free to show love. Appreciate you guys just tuning in. For the 30% of you who are not subscribed that watch this YouTube channel on a regular basis, please sub up, help us grow. We are trying to get to 15,000 subscribers, 15K by Ohio State. We are almost there on TikTok. We're almost at 1,000 followers on TikTok. So if you have TikTok, you want to follow us over there, follow us on TikTok. Instagram, we're almost at 2K. We're at like 1750, almost 18. So just trying to rise fanatic perspective on all platforms. The schedule is as such. I will be going live on Sunday. It will be early Sunday because we're doing a brunch for my mother-in-law and we're going to church before that. So it's going to be early Sunday, probably 9:30ish. I will announce the time. We will do a quick live on Sunday morning. Monday, this coming Monday, not Tuesday because I am traveling this week for work. So Monday night, we will have a guest. I will tease the guest. He is not a Texas fan. I work with him all the time. He is a good friend of mine, and he is tearing it up in content right now. And he's actually one of the people that encouraged me to come back to doing this full time. But we will be on with a good friend of mine who is supports a different type of football team. But we're going to talk about his football team. We're going to talk about our football team on Monday night. So I'll announce the guest this week on Sunday. And then Fridays, we'll have our Friday night lives every week. So Sunday, Monday or Tuesday, depending on if I'm traveling that week for work. And then Friday will be the schedule on this channel for lives. I'll still have content pushing out. Like I just put out a video about Pop, all sorts of stuff, right? But in terms of the live chats, that's the schedule. So appreciate you guys. If I missed you, I didn't miss you. Appreciate the chat as always. Everybody that hit us up with donations, we appreciate you. John, I appreciate you just supporting the channel and being engaged in the chat. Primetime hater, helping out a Texas channel. You couldn't be more gracious, brother. Happy Mother's Day to you and all the women in your life. Alan, Drew, Marlon, JB, Natty Season. Guys, horns always up. Hooker.